Hi and welcome to another repair video from FobFix.com. Today we're going to be repairing a 2-button Nissan key fob. The most common fault with this key fob are that the rubber pads wear through on the top and the buttons crack away from the circuit board. We're going to be using a repair kit from FobFix.com which contains a replacement casing, 2 small surface mount micro switches and a CR2025 coin cell battery. You'll need a minimum of tools, a small flat blade screwdriver, a pair of tweezers does come in handy, stop you burning your fingers when we're popping the switches back on, and a pair of side cutters. You will also need, of course, a decent soldering iron with a smallish tip. It's quite a small PCB we're working on, and I'm using some standard 6040 leaded solder. Right, the key fob itself, if we flip it over, if you look on the back, there's a small recess here. If we pop the flat blade into the recess and just gently pry, you'll see that the fob splits in two. The key blade and transponder that it contains, if you're sending the remote away for repair, you can still keep the blade and transponder and open and start the car while it's been away for repair. The fob itself, if we look either side, there's 2 plastic clips which keep the 2 halves of this fob together. We push the flat blade screwdriver underneath that, you see it pries apart quite easily, and if we do the same on the other side, and then it should just split into 2. Don't worry too much if you break one of these clips, that they're going to be replaced anyway. This half contains the battery, and it also contains a small battery terminal. If you look on top of the battery terminal, there's 2 small tangs. Make sure they're in place. If you've done the repair and popped it back together and it still doesn't work, occasionally they do get broken off by previous owners. This half of the fob contains the circuit board, so if we just place the flat blade screwdriver down the side and just gently pry out this circuit board from that half of the fob, we can get rid of this half obviously because that's the part with the broken buttons. There's another small battery tab which looks to wrap around this PCB. We can just peel that one away, it comes away with a small click. Put that somewhere safe because we're popping that back on in a tick, and flip this part over and we can see the circuit board and the 2 switches in question. They can be in varying states of repair. Occasionally you'll find fobs where they're missing entirely and just rattling around inside the fob, but we're going to be replacing those. You'll also see that these switches that come from factory are small rubber click based switches. The ones we'll be replacing with have plastic click switches which are much harder wearing. At this point we can just pop our soldering iron on to one side of the switch and gently lift, and the switches should just lift away. We can just do that. This is the more tricky one because it's encased around with more components, so if we just gently lift on that side, there we go, and then we just get down this side and drop that away. That's the 2 switches removed, and we'll move them out of the way, we don't need those anymore. The pads that are left, if we just gently wipe the soldering iron over them and level them down, gives us easy access to those. There we go. And then if we just tin one of the pads on each one of these switches, so if I just tin that one there, and I'll do that one there, give us something to pop the switches onto. Now if I just oh, where did they go? A bit lively. There we go. Let's just grab those, and if I pick them up and just gently position that one there, gives us a little bit of wiggle room, we can move them around. There we go, that's lined up quite nicely, and pop this one into there. There we are. Just be quite careful when you're soldering around here. The this big metal can here is an oscillator that's part of the transmitter circuit, and there's a couple more surface mount components. Could be quite easy to bridge those with solder if you're using quite a large tipped soldering iron, so double check your work after you've done it. If we just solder the sides that we haven't soldered, and then there we go, that one and that one. That one looks quite, we'll just we'll flow a tiny little bit more solder into the sides that we tagged them on with originally. That one there and that one there. Quite happy with that. And a bit like the Haynes manual, the reassembly is a reverse of disassembly. So if we take the battery terminal that we popped off, and that just if we just show you that battery terminal side on, you can see it laps underneath the PCB. So if we do that again, we just click it underneath and we just gently push it on. You hear a click. There we go, and that's sat on there. Now if we take the plastic casing, these casings do come with both halves, and they also come with a cover, which is the cover for the PCB. Don't really need that part. The original ones always tend to come with a suitable cover anyway. Now the reason we needed the side cutters, these fob casings ship with some small rubber indents on the inside of the rubber buttons, which press these switches. It's not that these plastic switches are any higher than the original factory rubber switches. These little rubber mouldings do seem to stand slightly proud, so when you reassemble the fob entirely, you'll see that the actual rubber pads push up out of the fob slightly. So a quick and easy remedy for that one, pair of side cutters, and basically if you just push up the inside just to make these stand proud inside and just gently trim them, it's quite an easy job to do. I tend to find if you just trim them halfway down, that's lets them sit perfectly flat. So that's that done. The PCB looks to be repaired perfectly fine, so if we flip that back over and pop that back into its half of the fob, and some people like to have the entire fob refurbed. Unfortunately, the back halves of the fobs don't come with a manufacturer's logo. I guess that's for copyright reasons. So feel free to use the original back half of the fob because it's perfectly compatible with the new moulded fronts. If you do tend to use the new back half of the fob, be aware that the tab which locks it in place back to the keyblade can sometimes be quite thick, so sometimes that does need trimming. That's something you might need to do. In this case, all we're going to do is replace the battery. Opposite the battery tab there's another recess. If we just put the flat blade screwdriver underneath, and we can pop the old battery out, and if we get our new battery here and just peel this out. Now this goes in place with the positive side of the battery down. It's actually moulded into the plastic, so you can see that. Push it in towards the battery tab and click that in place. And then if we just place this part of there's two clicks on the top. If we just place them in the housing there, make sure the tabs either side are seated together. That's fine. And when we press the buttons, you can hear a little squawk box that I have that receives radio signals, so we know both buttons on the fob are now working. And all we need to do is finally click the repaired part of the fob back into the keyblade. And there you go, one repaired Nissan key fob with a kit from FobFix.com.